This is The Meaningful Way. I'm your host, Luke Iorio. Doing well by doing good is a theme that comes to life over and over and over again on this show, particularly when we get to talk to a social entrepreneur. When you can combine something that matters to you, making a difference with the work that you get to do day in and day out, you've got the start of some kind of wonderful in your meaningful way. Today, we are honored to be joined by one such social entrepreneur. Fueled by a passion for social entrepreneurship, Caroline Pinal helped create Giveback Homes to empower the real estate industry to turn their everyday business into an opportunity for social good. Agent members donate to help build houses around the world. Pinal and team deliver innovation and impact to their network of like-minded agents, brokerages, as well as real estate technology and service providers, all behind as the driving force behind the movement to provide safe homes for families throughout the world. We're going to get into Pinal's background in terms of working at Tom's, very famous company inside of the social entrepreneurship movement. We're going to hear about all of her different trips, the way that she got connected to her now partner and the founder of Giveback Homes, Blake Andrew, and all sorts of things that brought her journey to Giveback Homes and the difference that she's making in the world today. And so with that, Caroline, I want to thank you for joining us here on The Meaningful Way.
Hello. Hi, Luke. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. I wish you could just follow me around and when I walk into a room, you could just say all that. That'd be amazing.
You got it. So, one of the really interesting things is, as I was diving into the background, not only on Giveback Homes, but you as well, is the part of your journey I was hoping to just begin with a bit, because when so many of us get out and start in the workaday world, whether it be out of college or earlier or a different path, we want to make some of those choices of working at a good job, at a good company, get that good paycheck. We want to make mom and dad proud. And I'm curious, How did that go for you? Because you were part of it, and then you led into a different direction. So I was just curious about that time in your life and how you were facing some of those decisions.
Yeah, I think you really described it perfectly. Right out of, preparing to graduate, I just wanted a corporate job. I wanted a cubicle. I wanted to work at a big company that my parents would recognize and be proud of, to tell all their friends that I was working at. But I also graduated in 2009, which was right in the middle of the recession. So, it made it a little bit more challenging. It was a crazy time. But I was grateful to have a job at the time. So I wasn't really focused at that time on finding something that I was passionate about. I didn't even know that was a thing, It was just more about being grateful that I had a job. At the time I was working right after college, I'd worked at a print shop, and then I worked at Disney Consumer Products and Fox News. And eventually what happened was I bought a pair of Tom's shoes and I wore them to work at Disney at the time in consumer products. And someone asked me, they're like, "Oh, those shoes are so cool. Like, what are they?" And I just went right into telling the Tom story, the 1-for-1. And, for every pair of shoes they sell, they give a pair to a child in need. And I realized in myself that I was so excited about talking about these shoes that I was like, I should really just try and work for this company, because I'm way more excited about this pair of shoes than I am about the work that I'm currently doing, So that was kind of when I made the move to, all I did was I applied for a job online with Tom's and, got a couple interviews and eventually landed a job there.
So tell us a bit then about that Tom's experience. Because number one, I want to point out to everybody, there's so many individuals that they'll get some of that spark, but they won't then take the action. And you took the action. So I want to hear obviously about your Tom's experience, but was there anything in particular other than just responding to kind of the passion you felt that gave you the impetus to say, you know what, I'm going to figure it out and just see where this thing leads?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, they're like, how did you get a job? Like, how did you get to Tom's? And I'm like, I applied online. I just went to the website.
Not earth-shattering.
Exactly. So I wish I had a more, a more compelling or exciting story, but that's really it. I just went online. I started looking at what positions they had available, and I applied for a few of them. So, but yeah, it really was that day that when I wore the shoes to that work to work that day, and I told the story. I went back to my cubicle and looked up jobs from my current job. Computer.
Right. Yes. So. Well, but I think something interesting in there was that you mentioned that you applied for a couple of positions that were open at the time. And my guess is that while there might have been one or two that looked really attractive, there were probably one or two that were just ways in the door.
Exactly.
Right. And it was just the willingness of, I know I want to be in this direction. Let me figure out what I can throw out there and see how I can make it happen. And a lot of people won't even do that to get themselves started. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, you get to Tom's Shoes. And tell me about what ignites. What is it that just gets you fired up? And ultimately, we know this is going to lead somewhere pretty incredible. But what were those experiences like?
My time at Tom's was so incredible, and has shaped me in a lot of ways. At the time when I joined, it was growing really fast. It was still, we were still working in a warehouse, no air conditioning, and kind of just like crates for your desks and things like that. But in the 3 to 4 years that I was there, we moved to a bigger office, and it was more corporate and things like that. So I kind of was there for that transition, but it was good to see both aspects of it, and I learned a lot. Got to go travel to El Salvador and Nicaragua to distribute shoes. Blake Andrews was on my team. So he and I worked together on the sales and retail marketing team, and we traveled to El Salvador and Nicaragua distributing shoes together. We became really good friends. And yeah, I learned a lot of things there about, just kind of startup mode, figuring it out, and how to really like build a sense of community.
So then how did it come to be that you ended up partnering with Blake? Obviously you knew him from Tom's, but how did this lead to Giveback Homes?
So, like I mentioned, we traveled to El Salvador, Nicaragua with Tom's, and for Blake, he really fell in love with the country of Nicaragua. He'd been several times, and so he kind of made a commitment to himself that he wanted to eventually start something to help the people of Nicaragua. So a couple years later, he was going through the process of buying a home with his wife, Trisha. And in that process of working with their real estate agent, the agent asked him how, he said, I give to so many different charities. I give back all the time, but, I never really see where my money is going. I don't really see the impact. And I really want to figure out a way of how to align this with my brand, how to, brand myself as a social good realtor. So that was pretty much the light bulb moment for Blake. And then he just approached me and asked me about and talked to me about it, and asked if I wanted to help him start this company, Giveback Homes, which didn't have a name at the time, but it was just an idea. So that was a huge opportunity, bigger than even looking back. I don't even think I realized at the time like what a huge
what was being born.
Yeah, what an honor that he was offering this up to me, and and asking me to help him and Trisha start this company. So. But I think he saw how hard I worked at Tom's, and he saw a greater potential in me than I even realized at the time. So I'm grateful for that.
So tell us exactly what is Giveback Homes?
So Giveback Homes, it's a community of real estate agents and brokerages across the country who are all dedicated to building homes, and also most recently providing water to families and communities that need it. We're in our 4th year now, and we started very simply building one home at a time in Nicaragua, and it has evolved quickly into so much more. So we've built 100 homes internationally. We've had 35 build days here in the United States, where we actually go out and help build homes locally as well. This year we were featured in an HP commercial. One of our partners, Concierge Auctions, it's a luxury real estate auction company. They've committed to for every successful auction, for every home they sell, they're now building a complete home for a family in Nicaragua. Yeah. Insane. It's so incredible. So that's so huge for us. So we're really excited about that right now. And then, we introduced a new way to give, which is water. So, for the past 3 years, we've been focusing on homes, and we will continue to focus on homes. But, our vision, Blake and I, both of us, our vision is to, offer different ways to give back as well. So the first introduction of that is water. And so we partnered with Waves for Water. And our members are donating water filters. One $50 water filter can provide access to clean water for up to 1,000 people. So, yeah.
So is it largely just real estate agents that get involved? It sounded like there was a lot of other types of partners. Who all can get involved? What does it kind of look like to be involved with Giveback Homes?
Sure. Yeah. We have individual real estate agents, and then we have entire real estate brokerages that join. And so they commit, for example, there's the agency here in Beverly Hills. They were our first brokerage partner. Now we have brokerage partners in Chicago with Related Realty, Houston, and Tarot Real Estate. And so, we've created this brokerage model now too. So we onboard all their agents. We help them, here's all the different options you have to donate to. Here's what we can provide in terms of marketing material. So we make it really, really easy and turnkey for them to give back and incorporate it into their business.
Nice.
Everyone knows that everyone wants to give back. They know they should give back. They're like, I've been meaning to do something. I just haven't had the time. So it's like, we just basically show up and we make it very easy for them to just incorporate it into how they do their business.
Gotcha. So then let's take a look at it from a different direction here. As a partner with Giveback Homes, what does it take to get a project like this off the ground? Because I think there's a lot of individuals that are drawn to this idea of social entrepreneurship, these ideas that business can be used for social good and social impact, and they'd love to be part of it. And yet at the same time, it can be pretty daunting to think about, wait, who am I? How am I going to play into this bigger role? And so I'm curious, what did it look like for you and Blake and Trisha to really get this project off the ground and build up the type of momentum that you guys have now seen?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's about finding the confidence to try things, fail, and, fine tune along the way, obviously, which is something that's taken us a while to learn, but we've come to that conclusion. But neither Blake or I had experience in real estate before, obviously before starting this. So we took on a massive goal of trying to get the real estate industry to focus on social responsibility. So that's huge, right? But it basically breaks down into simple steps of, getting people on board with your mission, how to start a movement. And now we have this, community that these amazing people who, are on board with what we're doing. And so now it's just about learning how to fine tune along the way. And so, continuing to make it collaborative and innovative, and just asking them for feedback. Like, do you guys like this? Do you guys like that? What about this? So
I think you one of the words that always jumps out at me that you just used that I know is so central to the social entrepreneurship direction is movement. And it really is about enrolling people into that mission. And I was just wondering if you'd say more, because it seems like this is an important movement for realtors and those that are connected to be a part of. And I'm curious, what is that movement? How do you generate that? How do you get so many people bonded the way that you have to what you're trying to do, and to see it as something that really is aligned with who they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that, obviously Blake and I learned a lot while we were at Tom's.
Sure.
They started the whole social, the whole 1-for-1 movement. But it's just little things. I mean, the very first time we went to a real estate conference, I went to Michael's, the craft store, and I got like this lime green that looked like the color of our logo, kind of like twine. And I just bought a whole bunch of rolls of it. So anyone who came by our booth, or a little table at that first conference we went to, we tied a little wristband. We gave them a bracelet. It wasn't branded. It wasn't expensive. It didn't have anything. It was just a little green wristband. And by the end of the conference, it was like a 3-day conference. We look up on stage and 3 people were wearing the wristband, and walking around, people were wearing these little, green wristbands. It's like something just as simple as that. That's starting a movement, because you're creating conversations. People are asking where you got the wristband, and then it gives them an opportunity to talk about Giveback Homes, whether they know anything about it or not. Those are all little things we learned at Tom's, and it's about constantly giving them content too to share. Like we are always, searching for stories and from the families that we're impacting and hoping that those stories connect with the real estate community, with our members. I was just in Nicaragua last month, and I visited over 20 different families that we've built homes for like 2 years ago. So we went back to those families, and we're now checking in on them and, taking photos, and their babies, they're kids that were babies before, they're now getting older. And it's just like sharing those stories, and it kind of reignites, the people who donated 2 years ago, now they just see that update. And I think that's a huge part of it too. It's just creating those tangible, the photos and the stories and things like that.
Well, I like the way that you set it up, because it's the stories that you get to pass along, but even before that, it's the conversation that got created. And so you created a conversation about a need and a gap that was going on out there, and bringing awareness to something that needed that awareness. It stirs the conversation, and now you get to come full circle, and you get to share the stories around what's actually going on. And so I guess maybe what is one of those just incredibly rewarding or mind-blowing stories of people that you've gotten to help and you've gotten to connect with them? Which one of those that just really stands out to you as having really impacted you in the difference that was made?
One of my favorite stories, there's a little boy named Brandon that I always like to talk about. I met him in 2014 in Nicaragua, and we came up to, at the time we were visiting them before their home was built. And I think he was about maybe 6 years old, and he was home alone, and we're like, we go up to the house, we're like, hey, is your mom home? He's like, no, basically. And, he's just sitting there like at selling food. He's like had a business, like a little stand. And I'm like, okay, well, who's home then? He's like, I am. How can I help you? And I'm just like, I've been in love with this kid ever since, just because of how, mature he was. And he was just kind of, so I went back. So this last month I got to go visit him again, and it was really cool. I mean, obviously he's a lot bigger now, and we were just chatting with him, and he still has that maturity, and he was talking about his business. They grew his business now that they have, a home to sell things out of and things like that. And he's the smartest kid in his class. He gets all the best grades. He wants to be an engineer. And so, for me, it's just like getting to hear those stories and getting to go back and seeing how they're doing is really powerful. And just, that's what I love that's one of my favorite parts. There's another family, one of our members funded a home for. The dad works as a janitor. And so, all his career, he carries one of those rings that has like 50, keys on it, but he never actually owned a set of keys of his own. So I had the honor of handing him the keys to his home, which was just so powerful. And that was the very first set of keys that they'd ever owned. So that was really cool too. So there's so many stories like that. And this is, those are all in Nicaragua. There's a lot of great stories in the U.S. too, as well, that we've been a part of. So, we work with organizations like Habitat for Humanity, or we've done some volunteer events with homeless shelters down in downtown LA, working in Skid Row. So
let me ask you, the name of the business is Giveback Homes, not Giveback Houses. And so I'm curious, what does home mean to you?
That's a good question. What does home mean to me? I don't know. That's a hard question. I travel a lot. So for me, home is I keep it really simple. I need to live I love, being by the water. So for me, home is just like wherever I can just relax and be by the ocean. Not necessarily like, I don't know. That's a hard question. You would think I would have a really good answer for that, and I don't.
No, it makes sense. What you're saying is it's the connection to what you have to a certain environment, and it's what you find in terms of where you can get that connection either to the water or being at a certain place and being where you are. It's not necessarily just the four walls that go up. Exactly. And I think that's what you're describing when you get those keys to your home. It's not that it's just four walls; it's what that represents. So there's some pretty cool stuff in there.
And I think in my, when I can, one week I'm in Nicaragua, meeting with all these families, and the next week, we could be at an event in Beverly Hills or wherever at a multi-million-dollar listing. So for me, it's like, I see what, there's families who they've always lived in dirt floors. And so for them having like concrete floors, it's life changing, or they've never been able to lock their door because they never had a lock on their door. So they've never been able to leave their house because they were afraid of, getting robbed or anything like that. So it's like, I feel like home means so many different things. I've seen it mean so many different things to so many different people, to the point where like, I don't know if I have my own definition anymore.
Sure. That makes sense. What is it like to see that difference, that disparity, where one minute you are in Nicaragua, and then you're in Skid Row, and then you're in Beverly Hills? What is it like to, and what has been your experience, and how have you changed by seeing the huge disparity between these different places in the world?
I mean, I see it as opportunity. You know what I mean? I think that the whenever we are at some sort of those events, things like that, it's because we're working with the real estate agents behind them and the people behind them, and they're obviously committed to to leveraging that for social good. So I see it as just a beautiful cycle, and I love it. So
it's a nice way of thinking about it. I like that. So if there's someone out there that is listening to the show, they have their ideas for starting that business that's focused on social good, what advice would you have for them?
I would say somebody gave me a good piece of advice, because at the very beginning, I used to get really butthurt about when people when people didn't understand what we were doing, or they didn't get it, or they're like, try and poke holes at the idea and things like that. And I was very sensitive to that. And I would take it very personally. And somebody recently told me, you have to forgive the people that don't understand the journey that you're on. And I think if I did that, in the first 2 years, I probably wouldn't have been so stressed out or so, you know what I mean? Like I would just let things get to me easily. And so now I've kind of just, stopped caring about what people think, and forgive the people that are just not understanding of the journey that you're on, because it's not worth your time and energy anyways,
Absolutely. With social entrepreneurship, there's so many that are out there to be able to remain true to self and true to the vision that you have, and be able to place aside those that don't understand the journey that you're on, don't understand where you're going, and really just remain true to who you are. It's a key piece of the journey. I think it's a key piece for any entrepreneur's journey, but for social entrepreneurs in particular right now,
totally.
It is a big reminder.
And it's something I have to work on. I still work on it every single day,
Of course. Of course. So take us out 5-10 years from now. What is that big picture for Giveback Homes? You've talked about obviously where you've started. You've talked about now the incorporation of some of the new dynamics of bringing in water, and have the importance of the water filters and everything else. 5-10 years out, what's the big picture for Giveback Homes and where you're headed?
I would say, probably that. Let's think. I would love to have. Gosh, that's another hard question. I mean, I think we definitely want to continue introducing, other aspects, diversifying ways to give, right? So like what's involved in a home? Like what would a home be like without clean water? That's why we introduced these water filters. Maybe the next step is energy or education, more community focused things, larger partnerships within the real estate industry and outside of it. We really want to try and start creating more consumer awareness as well.
Sure.
We've done a really great job within the real estate industry, but trying to figure out ways to create that consumer awareness, which is, the HP commercial this year was a really great step towards that. But so finding other opportunities like that, we want people to, every day people want to work with people who are doing good. They want to buy products from people who are doing good. So it's just a matter of making it easy for them to find it and accessible. So,
well, certainly, I mean, the consumer awareness is certainly a big piece of it. The more that we help the consumer, the economy shift towards the recognition of what are you buying, who are you buying it from, and the difference that it makes is a major shift for us. And thankfully, one that is growing in awareness. And I love the application of, at least what I heard in your answer, was part of how you're looking at the homes that are being built are what are the essentials. So it begins with the structure, then it's water, then maybe it's energy, or then education for the people that are in that home. It really is about building up the essentials of that home and then that community, as you said, which is excellent. So then I guess at this point to bring, kind of our conversation around full circle, one of the things I love asking our guests is, a bit about the meaningfulness of their lives, the meaningful way that they tend to pursue. So Caroline, for you, what do you think contributes most to meaningful work and meaningful life?
What I think contributes most to meaningful work and meaningful life? I mean, obviously, everyone wants to be passionate about the work that they're doing. They want to love the work they're doing, but that's not always the reality for everyone. Not everyone has that luxury. But I think that it's allowing yourself to get closer to it. In either it's in a bunch of small steps or maybe it's one giant leap at a time. But I think allowing yourself to explore and figure out what that is and get closer a little bit at a time.
Excellent. I think the exploration part of our journey is one that's incredibly important, because even the things that we find that purpose in today or that meaning in today are things that are going to evolve over the course of a lifetime. And I like and appreciate what you were able to shift through of recognizing what were some of the elements that didn't bring purpose to you. And even though some of the jobs that you probably have done along the way, first at Tom's, now even some of the roles I'm sure at Giveback Homes are not always the easiest to do, not always the most fulfilling, but you know what it's a part of. And you know the bigger picture for it.
Exactly. And you don't know how many days I miss having an IT department that I can run to when my computer's not working or something,
Certainly. Absolutely. Caroline, I want to thank you for coming on The Meaningful Way and spending this time with us.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Fantastic. For everybody, I want to encourage you guys to check out Giveback Homes. Just simply go to givebackhomes.com. Take a look at just the extraordinary work that you're doing. Obviously, if you're already tied into the real estate industry, definitely something for you to check out and take a look at. And then on the bigger picture, take a look at general social entrepreneurship, because there are so many that are looking to align that passion with what they do day in and day out. And there are some wonderful models like Giveback Homes, like Tom's Shoes, that are out there now that are showing us a whole new way of working in this world. So enjoy your experiments, enjoy your journey, and continuing to explore this path. And until we meet again, until we are on the air again, thanks for coming by and continue to enjoy the journey. Thanks for tuning in to The Meaningful Way. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor and please subscribe and follow along with all these great guests, their stories, and interviews. Also, it helps us a lot if you not only share some of your favorite episodes online, but also provide us feedback. Go into iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite podcast app happens to be, and rate the show. Provide us some feedback and let us know how it is that we're doing. If you want to learn more about what we're up to, whether it be with the IPEC Coach Training School, the Live, Lead, Play Network, or even just what's evolving with The Meaningful Way, go on and head on over to lukeiorio.com.